Hello everyone, good day. In this video, we are going to see a demo on Azure's Virtual Network Pairing. Virtual Network Pairing. Virtual Network Pairing or VNet pairing enables you to seamlessly connect two or more virtual networks all together to appear as one network. VNet pairing allows the traffic of one virtual network to communicate to another virtual network privately using Microsoft's backbone infrastructure network. Let us first discuss the architectural steps for this demo. As a first step, we are going to connect the Azure portal and create the resource group. Within the resource group, we will be creating a virtual network called VNet1 with a single subnet called subnet number 1. In the same way, we are going to create VNet number 2 with a single subnet called subnet number 2. Post that, we are going to create a virtual machine named VM1 with a public IP and private IP in VNet number 1. In the same way, we are going to create VM number 2 in VNet 2 with a private IP only. Since we are having a public IP address in VM1, we will be able to access VM1 from the internet or outside. After this step, we are going to create a peering connection between VNet number 1 and VNet number 2 so that VM number 1 can communicate to VM number 2 privately. Privately in the sense, VM number 1 and VM 2 can communicate with each other with the help of private IP addresses. Let us see that in action. These are all the steps that we are going to do in this demo. Step number 1. Access Azure portal and create resource group RG1. This is our Azure portal. Select the resource groups from the inventory list and create a resource group called RG1. Region can be anything, but for this demo, we are selecting it as North Europe. Now, the resource group is created. Step number 2, create VNet number 1 and subnet number 1. We are going to create a VNet called VNet number 1, and within that VNet, we'll be creating a subnet called subnet number 1. The CIDR range we are going to use for this VNet is 10.10.0.0/16. Now select virtual networks from the inventory and start to create the VNet. Ensure that we are giving the correct CIDR in the VNet range. Also, delete the default subnet and create our own custom subnet called subnet-1. The CIDR range for this subnet should be 10.10.1.0/24. Validate the configurations in the review page and press Create. Step number 3, create VNet 2 and subnet 2. For this VNet, we are going to use the CIDR range as 172.16.0.0/16. Try to create this VNet in the same way as we did it for VNet number 1, but the only difference is the CIDR range should be 172.16.0.0/16. For this VNet, the subnet's CIDR range should be 172.16.1.0/24. Now we got our VNets ready. Step 4. Create VM1 in VNet number 1 and VM2 in VNet number 2. VM1 is going to be a public VM, whereas VM2 is going to be a private VM. From outside, we can access only VM number 1 since it is a public VM. We won't be able to access VM2 from VM1 since there is no peering connection between these VNets. Select virtual machines from the inventory and create VM number 1. Select the appropriate resource group. Give a name for the virtual machine. Select the appropriate image. For now, we'll be using a Ubuntu image. With respect to size, we can choose a bare minimal size since it is a demo which is eligible for free trials. For authentication, choose it as password-based authentication and create the username and password which will be useful to log in into this machine. Also, enable port number 22 for this machine so that we can SSH into this machine. Under networking, ensure we select VNet 1 for this machine VM number 1 and also enable a public IP. Finally, review and create this VM. In the same way, try to create VM number 2. But for VM number 2, ensure to select VNet 2 as its network and select none in the public IP field so that VM number 2 won't get any public IP addresses. Now we got our machines ready. Let us connect VM number 1 using an SSH client from the internet. Take the public IP of the VM number 1 and connect it using a SSH client. Ensure to give a password here. Now VM1 is connected. Just check the IP settings to ensure that it belongs to VNet number 1. Since the IP range is 10.10.x.x, we confirm that it belongs to VNet number 1. Now let us try to test the connectivity between VM number 1 and VM number 2. For this, we can ping VM2's private IP from VM number 1. Take the private IP addresses of VM number 2 and ping it from VM number 1. There is no ping responses, and this confirms that there is no connection between these VMs and the networks. Step 5. Create VNet pairing between VNet number 1 and VNet number 2. For this, go to the virtual networks and select any one of the VNet. For this demo, we are selecting VNet number 1. Under this VNet number 1, select pairing and press Add. Under this Remote Virtual Network Summary menu, give a name for the remote pairing connection. Remote pairing virtual network should be VNet 2 in this case. Similarly, configure the local virtual network summary. Finally, press Add. This will create two private links. One from VNet number 1 to 2 and the other one from VNet number 2 to 1. Pairing connections are finally up and running now. Step number 6. Test the private connection between VM number 1 and VM number 2 now. Now try to ping VM2's private IP from VM number 1. Now this time ping will work since we have created the pairing connections between the VNets where these machines are hosted. This confirms the pairing connectivity is working. As a last step, try to clean up all the resources. In this step, delete the resource group and the resources within it as well. Deleting the resources is mandatory as it saves cost. Well, that's it for this lecture. Thank you. Have a nice day.